Hi, it's still the 18th of May and this is part 2, and I'm going to try and keep it concise, but I'm finding it difficult. Again, the download didn't work. I got to an upsetting part in the video and now I'm a bit wound up, so I don't know how much this is going to make sense, but I think where I left it off in the first video was that I had been crying to Mum on the phone, and yeah, I guess to expand on that a little bit, I had all these symptoms and people kept writing them off and saying, oh, it's probably this, it's probably that, but I'm like, no, there's something else wrong. And another symptom that I didn't mention in the first video was my knees. At the same time as everything else, I started to get really sore knees. I was used to being able to just kneel down on the ground and sit like that for any amount of time, and then all of a sudden I couldn't do it anymore, and it felt like arthritis. And I would go to Mum's and Dad's and I'd be sitting in the lounge room like that and I wouldn't be able to get up off the ground, and they'd be like, oh, it's probably a muscle, and I'm like, no, it's not. So anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention was that after the conference, I think I mentioned I kind of fell into a heap, because again, I had nothing to look forward to. I had what I thought was lost the love of my life and I needed a new distraction. So stupidly, I went online and I bought a ticket to Thailand, and this was in June. So the breakup was May, the conference was the end of May, and then I bought the tickets in June. And I'd planned to go in February of this year, 2011, so it gave me 8 months to get my head around the whole idea. I probably should mention I am shit scared of flying and planes and all of that stuff, so I thought, yeah, this is a good challenge for me, going to a non-English speaking country on my own, and even getting onto a plane. If I can do this, I can conquer anything, And I thought I'll worry about the reality of it down the track, but for now this is what's happening, and it was all consuming. I was going to go for a month. I was up all night, all hours, planning my itinerary and just absorbing myself in that, so in that sense it was a good distraction for me. But at the same time I was a bit worried about how I'd tell Mum and Dad, because they are really overprotective of me, and I have the sort of father who didn't want me to sit out the front on my own because somebody might steal me, or was never allowed to ride a bike because it might hurt myself, and I couldn't sleep at people's places for quite a number of years until I was a bit older. Dad needed to meet every parent. I couldn't have a boyfriend, so I used to sneak around at 17 and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, how on earth am I going to tell him I'm going to a foreign country on my own? But I thought, again, I've got plenty of time to work through that and figure out what I'll tell him, even if I have to tell him a fib and let him know I'm going with somebody or I'm on a tour of some sort. I'll work it out. Yeah, so that was in June, and then not too long after that, symptoms were going okay. I don't remember anything significant, but the next thing that went wrong for me is that my pets, my rabbits, I had 3 of them get sick at once. And 2 out of 3 had neurological illnesses like head tilt, and yes, that's bizarre when I look back on that, but that took a lot of my time, and financially that was pretty hard. So I was, the medications, some of them were on 3 medications in a day, so there's a lot of work that went into that, and you've got to shove a syringe full of liquid down a rabbit's throat, and they rustle around and they don't want a bar of it, but you've got to do it, and it was quite stressful, I guess. I didn't want to upset them too much and all that kind of thing. But moving along, we get to September, and then Dad got really ill, and yeah, that was very hard for me. He was in and out of hospital 5 times between September and December, and he would go in for a week or more, longer towards the end. And then he would come out and you'd think it's over. Whew, it's over, he's going to be okay. And then within 2 weeks or 1 week, he wouldn't have long a break at home, but he'd be back in hospital again. And it started off that he had spontaneous spinal fractures from advanced osteoporosis. Now my dad's 73 and I didn't know he had osteoporosis, but I do now. And the pain was so bad for him that it affected his breathing. He couldn't breathe, he couldn't get off the ground. He at one point had gotten himself onto the ground and was crawling along the floor pleading for help from Mum. She couldn't drive, so it was always an ambulance coming down to get him. Quite dramatic, you know, circumstances. And then I'd get the call at work, wherever I was, oh, your father's in hospital. And you can imagine what that did to me. Waiting for a call all the time, is, you know, trying to work out, is he going to be okay? How long is he going to be okay for? So they were trying to manage his pain the first couple of times he was in hospital, but then he got really sick. He got pneumonia, and I believe he caught it while he was in hospital. He caught it from some germs in hospital, and they couldn't really fight it. They thought they'd overcome it. They sent him home. It regrouped, and he'd be back in hospital again, so it got quite complicated. He also had emphysema, which I didn't know because he never complained. He didn't want me to know about his illnesses. So I found out by default. I'm going to stop here because I know it won't download if I'm not careful, so I'll stop here and we'll go on to a part 3, but I am getting through it, so hang in there, won't be too much longer. Thanks, bye.